Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Happy 2018. I hope the 2017 was amazing for you and the 2018 is even better. And yes, you've guessed it from the title, I am quite late in posting this video, but you know what? I thought that at the end of the day I will still be talking about books, so why not just do it now? So here are the books that I read in December 2017 and this makes my December wrap up. So I have a couple of physical books to show you and a few ebooks and I think one or two audiobooks. So I'm going to start with the physical books first and then I will move on to the ebooks and audiobooks or whatever because I will be inserting the cover somewhere over here. Starting with the book that I absolutely loved in 2017, it's definitely a 2017 favorite. Homegoing by Agassi follows the story of these two sisters, Effie and Essie, who were separated long time back, and it's about their contrasting destinies of how one sister was actually married to a white man who worked in the business of slave trade while the other was sold into slavery. Each following chapter in this book presents a new generation of the family, and it basically shows us how activities and situations and decisions taken in the previous generation stays, lingers, and impacts the next generations to come. And this book is actually going to be a teacher and a lesson for so many of us in so many of different ways. Yes, it's very heartbreaking. It is not sugarcoated at all. It is completely graphic and intense, but it's going to be so impactful and it's going to teach you so many things that I highly recommend this book to you. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I read it with a couple of Bookstagram friends and each of us have a lot of things to say about this book. I have linked a blog post on it that I did for this book where I share my thoughts on it and how it sort of teaches you. And if you haven't yet read it and if you enjoy history and historical fiction, I really recommend that you pick this up as soon as you can because it's a beautiful impactful read. The next book that I have over here is a book that I received to review from Olympia Publishers in London, and it was a tad bit disappointing, and I've mentioned why in my blog post. This is A Freezing Night in Geneva by Ajay Atala. I have mentioned why did I find it a little disappointing in my blog post, which is linked down below, and I did a small little video on it which I will link on the screen. So basically it's a good one-time read about the author's journey and how he was stuck outside the Geneva airport and what all happened. One of the main reasons why I find it a little disappointing is not just the writing style but also how it was not really true to its title. It's not more about his night outside the Geneva airport but about his past life. But I have mentioned that it's going to be especially helpful to those looking for a book similar that talks about student trips and trips abroad about probably when the internet wasn't really there, it wasn't very active, and it has a lot of things to teach you informatively, but it's not as exciting a story to read. However, if you do want to know more about this book, I would suggest you to click the link down below and read the blog post. It's going to be short and it's going to give you all the details, reasons, or my thoughts on this book. Next up, I have If I Had to Tell It Again by Gayatri Prabhu. This I received from the author and the publishers for a review, and it's a beautiful read. It is again a very heartbreaking, a very intense, and not a very happy book, but it's going to give you that sense of relief and that sense of strength and emotions, and it's going to teach you patience and perseverance through the story of this author. It's a memoir about her and her father and her very difficult childhood. It's about her father who had to deal with depression and how she herself has to deal with depression and how she learns from her father's mistakes and sort of implements them in her life and how she learns and how she gains strength. And it's about her dog and how the dog helped her out, and it's a beautiful story. Again, it's not going to be a very happy read, but in the end it's definitely going to be a sigh of relief. It's going to tell you that everything's going to be okay eventually and that all you need to do is be patient and have faith and always have hope. I have linked a review to this down below in the description box, so if you do want to know more about this book, I suggest that you go check that out. Next is The Spy by Paulo Coehlo, and this actually is a very unusual Paulo Coehlo read. I picked up a Paulo Coehlo book after a really long time because the last I read a Paulo Coelho book was probably in college, I guess. And I think it's safe to say that it might be the last time I ever read a Paulo Coelho because now I don't think I'm in that genre or in that age group where I would enjoy and relate to Paulo Coelho writings. Not that he doesn't write well, he writes beautifully and all of us are quite aware of that. But this book was actually quite unusual, like I said, because it's not really fiction, it's more towards non-fiction written in a fictional way. So some facts were changed, but they were as true and honest as they could be to a fictional read. It's about this very strong personality called Mata Hari. Most of you must have heard of her, but it was a first for me. I had not known much about her before this book, and it was very interesting to see how her story starts. And it starts in the form of letters, and how basically things were back then and how this very beautiful, very strong personality came through in such a difficult time. It's very intriguing to know about these strong personalities, and I will not tell you much about it because you can easily Google up about Mata Hari and know her story, but the way Paulo Coelho tells it, it makes it all the more interesting and all the more intriguing to know about her. So I do recommend this book if you enjoy Paulo Coelho 1 and if you do want to know a non-fiction written in a very fictional way and in a very Paulo Coelho way. And yeah, it is quite an enjoyable read. It's a very short read, a very short story. You can read it pretty quick but very interesting. The next book that I want to show you is something that most of you are aware was sent to me by Apurva, and that's We Are Okay by Nina Kaur. A very, very beautiful read. It's one of those very few young adult novels that I've actually really liked. It's a contemporary romantic in a way. It's a story about a young girl called Marion and her only family that's left after she lost her parents, of whom she doesn't really remember much about. And there are a lot of secrets to the family that she's yet to discover on her own and in a very heartbreaking way. And it's about her love and her romance with her best friend and how she loses a lot of things in life and how she loses a lot of her family and how she basically has lost track of life and she needs to figure a lot of things. What I love most about this book is that it's not plot driven, and the reason why I love it is because a lot of the times when a book doesn't really have a strong plot, it sort of falls flat, but this book actually became stronger because of that, and it teaches you how to acknowledge and accept things and deal with them and move on in life. And it's a very strong yet a very simple story, and it's not, and being a young adult, it's not only about teenagers, it's a lot about family and friends and their family and how close you can be to other families when you're not even related by blood. So it's a lot of emotions, a lot of dynamics included in this book, and I absolutely loved it. I have a review of this on my website, and I've linked the blog post down below in the description box. If you haven't read it, I do recommend this to you. It's a beautiful, beautiful, easy book to read, and yeah, Apurva, thanks again for this. I absolutely loved it. The next physical book that I want to show you before I move on to my ebook slash audiobooks is also the last book of 2017. I finished reading this on the 31st evening, I suppose, and I practically ended my year with it. I received this book to review, and it's called Placard Holder in the Past, and it's an adult fiction. It seems like a contemporary. It's about this young man called Keshav who basically sets out to find a stable job and a stable income after losing a lot of his village and a lot of his house to a natural calamity, and his one aim in life is now to help his family and help himself and the family to rebuild in ways through the job. So it's about how this one person's life gets interwoven with so many other characters, and about this very simple community of people whom we notice so many times on our road trips, but we never really give a second thought to. So this book essentially teaches you that there's a lot going on in things that we merely just see, and it teaches us to think beyond that. So it's about this group of people who work in and around this roadside eating joint, and how that region and that area becomes home to so many people who come and stay there either by their own choice or by accident or by some situation that they couldn't have avoided. And it's also how these people, this particular group of people, become their family. It is a character driven book, and it teaches us a lot of things about the simplicity of life and also the complexities of it. It teaches you, like I've said, to see beyond things that you merely just see with your eyes, and to actually expand your horizons of philosophies and thinking and thoughtfulness and consideration. So I really did enjoy this book. The only thing that did not make it one of the best reads for me was the fact that it was quite slow in a lot of parts of the book, and a lot of times I wanted to not continue it, but because it was interesting to know how these lives unveil themselves to the reader, I wanted to carry on. But that's the only downside of the book, that it was quite slow paced in some areas. And yeah, but I have more about this book and what it talks about in the blog post, which is linked down below. And if you enjoy adult fiction contemporaries, I think you might enjoy this one, so I do recommend this to you. But more information about the book and the story is down below in the description box, so do go check that out. Moving on to the ebook that I read last month, it's called A Wrinkle in Time by Madeline. I'm pretty sure that all of you, or most of you, have heard about this book. It's pretty much a classic, and I read the graphic illustrated edition of it as an ebook. And I wasn't really aware of this book before I got into it. I did know that it was something to do with time traveling or space traveling, but it's a very warm, a very beautiful read. and I think I enjoyed it more so because of the artwork and because it was a graphic novel. So it really did enhance my experience of that. But it was a very beautiful concept, and in fact, now in Feb we have a movie coming out of it, so that's exciting. And in case you haven't yet read the book, the movie I think is good enough for a reason. I'm not quite sure of how the actual classic version goes because I did not read that and I've only read the graphic novel, but I did really enjoy it. And the movie is going to star Oprah Winfrey, Reese Witherspoon, and Mindy Kaling, so that's very, very exciting to know. And it's a Disney movie, so it's going to be quite enjoyable anyway. But yeah, I do recommend this book. I really, really enjoyed it. I sort of read it along Apurva, and it was a lot of fun, and the artwork was amazing. So yeah, that was one of the ebooks that I read. I actually forgot to include a physical book, which I've lent it to my friend Mehek. Hi Mehek. And I don't have a copy with me, so I will insert the picture of here. The book is called Everything Everything by Nick Layo. Most of you are aware of the book. You've heard about it, or you've read it yourselves, or you've seen the movie, which was out quite recently, I think. I'm not too sure. I haven't seen the movie myself. So basically, Everything Everything, to a lot of people who've read it, it's a beautiful book, and they've enjoyed it, they've loved it. Most of them reread it because of how innocent and how lovable they find them. I, on the other hand, found it very unfair, very disappointing, because it talks about a topic which is very relatable to me, and it's very sensitive, and I did not like how it was marketed around and how it was used as a plot when it wasn't even that important to the story. So it's basically about this young girl who's 17 or 18 years old and who has this immune disorder called SICD or SCID. And it's a very, very advanced version of what I have, which is autoimmunity. And it's a life that I honestly cannot imagine, because it's almost always fatal. Um, and one thing I loved about the book was how well it's written. It was beautifully written. But when the plot twist happened, I was quite disappointed. More so because it was marketed in a way that it's about a young girl with SCID. So it was supposed to be her story as a patient and as a young girl with SCID, but it wasn't entirely about that. And I've mentioned a lot of things on those lines in the video that I did comparing it to Turtles All the Way Down by John Green, and the video is linked on the screen and down below. And I've also done a blog post talking about this book individually, which is linked down below in the description box. So there I explain my reasons and what I had to say about the book being unfair and misleading in a lot of ways, and how it played with a very, very sensitive topic, and how a lot of people aren't really aware of it and are going to have a wrong information about the entire thing. So yeah. And my last book of 2017, and an audiobook, the very first audiobook that I actually really enjoyed and got me into reading more and more, or listening to more and more audiobooks, is Scrappy Little Nobody by Anna Kendrick. Anna Kendrick, if you aren't aware, is a very cool celebrity who starred in Twilight and Pitch Perfect. I'm forgetting her name as the character, but she's amazingly cool. She is as cool and as awkward and as natural and as honest as almost all of us are. So that just makes her more relatable to us. And this is basically her memoir, a very social media-esque memoir. And the audiobook was narrated by herself, it just made it 10 times more hilarious and 10 times more enjoyable. I'm pretty sure that if I would have read it physically, I would have enjoyed it, but not as much as I did in her own voice and her own narration, because she just does an amazing job. And the book in itself it's humorous, it's hilarious, it teaches a lot of things. It sort of gives you an insight to all these new age celebrities and how they come up in this industry and what all they go through and how they overcome things. It's about her as her new coming celebrity lifestyle and as a very personal individual, and it sort of makes celebrities very personified, which is very important for a lot of people who follow them to understand that at the end of the day they are humans and people, and this is how they are in a way. So yeah, it was a very fun read. I have a Goodreads post on this that I did, which is linked down below in the description box. I am yet to do a blog post on it, which I will do quite soon, because I have something else to add on to it in reference to the book, but also in a more broader generalized version. So I will be talking about that in the blog post quite soon, and I will have the link in my Instagram. So if you're not yet following me on Instagram, do so, because I am the most active there. So all the social media links are down below, by the way. But yeah, that was the last book of 2017. And these are all the books that I read last month, and I read quite a lot in December as compared to other months. Usually I read about 4 to 5 books in a month, but this is what, 9 or 10 books, I think, somewhere around that, and a great bunch of collection. I was quite happy with the books that I got to read, and absolutely loved the books that I've spoken about and recommended to you. If you want to know more about these books and my thoughts on them specifically and individually, all the links are down below in the description box, and I would highly appreciate if you go through my website and read these blogs, because I do talk a lot about books over there, and I do pour my emotions onto most of these blogs, and I recommend some really cool books. And all the social media links are down below as well. I'm highly active on Instagram, so if you want to know more about what I'm reading or how things are, you can easily just follow me there, and also on Goodreads, because I quite actively and constantly update my Goodreads with my bookish side of the life as well. And a lot of more things are going to come up on my website and Instagram, so make sure to follow both those things. But I would love to know what all you read in December, and which of your reads have been your favorite in the month and also in 2017 in general. My friend Apurva and I did a top 5 2017 books, which is the last video, which I will link on the screen down below as well. And I speak a lot about the books that I absolutely fell in love with over this year. And yeah, I would love to know if you've read any of these books, if you've enjoyed them, if you're looking forward to read them, and if you have more books to suggest to me which are quite similar to these. So I would be looking forward to your comments in the comment section, or you can just DM me on Instagram like most of you always do. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!